The division of labor is a key concept in this module, as well as in the class in general. I'm sure that most of you have heard of it in the context of economics, but the concept has a much longer and interesting legacy. We tend to think of the division of labor as the dividing up of tasks for the purpose of greater specialization and efficiency. But Plato used it to refer to the different types of people in his famous city and speech from the Republic. The citizens of this imaginary city were either bronze, silver, or gold souled, and these differences in their souls determine their occupation and purpose in the city. In Plato's case, the division is what holds the society together. Augustine also uses the division of labor in his masterpiece, The City of God. For Augustine, there are two metaphysical cities, the earthly city and the heavenly city. Each person is a resident of the earthly city at times and the heavenly city at others. Which city they inhabit depends on their loves. In other words, Augustine divides people on the basis of what they love. Those who inhabit the earthly city love worldly things and pleasures. Those who inhabit the heavenly city love eternal things and spiritual pleasures. Augustine insists that all people are inhabitants of both cities. After all, even the best among us still makes mistakes. But Augustine also notes that even the worst people still do good things at times, even if only by accident. The Scottish economist Adam Smith uses the division of labor to talk about how much more efficiently pins can be produced when the labor is divided up. His point is that wealth is generated from the increased productive capacities fostered by the division of labor. The German political theorist Karl Marx viewed the division of labor as exploitative of the workers. He argued that, inevitably, the exploitive nature of capitalism would plant the seeds of its own demise and be overthrown by socialism. Socialism, in turn, would regulate production and place limits on how much of a given commodity could be produced. This would allow workers to take back control of their lives, since, at the time of Marx's writing, workers often worked long hours, 7 days a week. The French sociologist Emile Durkheim wrote his doctoral dissertation on the division of labor in society. Durkheim argued that the division of labor existed because of its moral benefits, and that its economic benefits were a byproduct rather than the raison d'etre, the reason for existence. In other words, the division of labor made it possible so that diverse peoples could live together peacefully because they feel their common need for one another. Nowadays, we go to the grocery store and buy meat, bread, and vegetables. But for most of history, you either produced all of these yourself or else visited a butcher, baker, and farmer to get them. Once you decide to be a baker, you spend most of your time and energy baking, so you don't have time to raise animals or plant a garden. This makes you need others who devote their attention to the things that you cannot. Finally, Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis, also employed the division of labor. Freud argued that the psychical apparatus consists of three parts: the it, the I, and the over-I, more commonly seen as id, ego, and superego. In Freud's view, each of these parts of a person's psyche played a distinctive role in their existence. The id was the biological drives, the superego, their cultural norms and values, and the ego tries to balance the demands of the selfish and egotistical id with the demands of the excessively harsh and perfectionistic superego. So, to recap, the division of labor is far more complicated than just dividing up tasks for the sake of efficiency. It is primarily a moral force that binds people or things together into a moral community. It's important to remember this as you choose your major, because whatever you choose, you cannot devote the same time and attention to other majors. Lastly, the division of labor clearly demonstrates that all of the cultures of inquiry are important and needed. Try to keep this in mind when you're developing the first-year curriculum of your iUniversity.